Oh, so many thoughts. One thing I just want to say is any model of faith development, and Westerhoff offers us one, is limited, right? But one of the things that I appreciate about his work, especially later in his life, is that he really emphasized that while there was a progression in what he's proposing, and there's a sense of growth that is us responding to the love of God, it's not something we do, it's something we respond to. He recommends, and I think it's true, that we recognize that all of those styles of faith that he describes are happening in us often at once. And so what you're suggesting, and I think very rightly, is that under stress, in times of anxiety, the psychologist would say we regress. I don't like that language. It sounds very negative, but that we fall back on needing to be sure that our basic needs are met. That also sounds a lot like Maslow in psychology, right? And this need to affiliate, to feel not alone, to feel like somebody knows our name, to feel the goosebumps of the tradition. You know, the difference right now between singing a hymn online, if you're singing along with people that you know, and hearing a hymn you don't know well, feels very wide right now. You know, I've been encouraging musicians and congregations that are worshiping online with music at all to hit the big ones, you know, play the hymns that bring out that sense of belonging and tradition, and let people bellow that hymn with their muting button, you know, with their Zoom mute on, because in hearing ourselves sing along, we remember, and our bodies, our muscles remember that we are connected. So there are some things we have to do that feel weird, I think. I've encouraged people to, in the experience of worship in remote and isolated places, use your body. You know, stand when you can stand if you are able. Sit when you want to sit or it's appropriate. Kneel if you can. Cross yourself. Take on manual acts. Use the body that God has given you. And realize that those movements are shared across the globe. And that they are ways in which we can know that we are part of something larger, even in the absence of the immediacy of being in physical proximity. So I think there are ways in which we are finding affiliation that we didn't even know. There's some good things emerging. There are some stories, I've heard them in some of your documents from the diocese, of people who had never cracked their own prayer book at home, discovering that prayer book they were given at baptism or given at their confirmation has these beautiful prayers in it, and that they're empowered to pray them, and that they can offer that to someone else who may live in their household, or calling a friend on an old-fashioned telephone and reading a prayer for quiet confidence to that friend who you know is having a struggle right now. People are beginning out of necessity to claim their authority as Christians, as fellow journeyers, fellow disciples. And if we can just stop and sort of notice that in the moment I was talking to my best friend on the phone, I felt alive. I felt connected to her. That's a form of affiliation. I also think the longing for gathering in community together is a holy longing. And that we have so many stories from scripture and our tradition about people in the wilderness, 40 years, waiting, the promise. We are in a phase of our own waiting. And when we're together in live time in convention, I look forward to perhaps talking more about that. What will it be for the Episcopal Church in central Pennsylvania to claim its wholeness, its fullness of being in new ways, incredible ways, that I hope will last beyond COVID. I think these practices of discipleship that we're having to dig deep and establish or claim or reclaim, these are practices that many of us didn't learn until now. Many of us didn't trust until now because we didn't have to. Church was pretty easy. We could just show up at 10 o'clock on Sunday and it was there. But now, you know what? You're making it. You're building it. You are the building blocks of this faith community in your local community. And people are listening and finding you in ways they never were before. So it's not easy, but it's holy work. And I am so grateful to the intentionality that I see in your community to take hold of this moment and be praying with one another for the clarity of what God is calling you to become, because something really incredible is happening among you. That's so clear to me.